So the concept that we'll be looking at for functions is how to determine that whether a function is an increasing function or a decreasing function or not. Okay, what is the function? Function, we have an input, and C के साथ साथ similarly we have an output, right? कोई भी function, for example, let's take the common ones that are in your syllabus. कोई भी function देता है. For example, y is equals to very basic quadratic function x square. सही है? Now, if I have a look at this function, for these values, what do you see? As I am going down, do not forget about going down, because when we are studying functions, we talk about the x values being our input, right? So I am going right. What is happening to the values of x? They are, what is happening to the values of x? X is the first one, minus 2.09, minus 2.06, minus 2.0. The values of x. I'm going from left to right. What happens to the values of x? They are increasing. But as the values of x are increasing, the value of y is decreasing. So when I'm increasing the input, the output is decreasing. For any of these portions up till this point, if I find the gradient at any of these points, will the gradient be positive or negative? Negative gradient. So the function is decreasing for this domain when x is less than 0. What about when x is greater than 0? Now, if I go from left to right, what happens to the values of x? The values of x increase. If I'm increasing my input, my output is, what is happening to the output? The output is also increasing. Input बढ़ाने पे output बढ़ रहा है. So the function is increasing for this domain. So for the domain x less than 0, the function is decreasing. For the domain x is greater than 0, the function is decreasing. But if you generally ask me कि function increasing or decreasing, I'll say neither, because पूरा functions एक single नहीं है. Is this clear or not? So yeah, so we have to decide, and we do this through the gradient. How do we find the gradient of a function? How do we find the gradient of a function? The derivative of x, the gradient, right? So if that is positive, I'm sure that the derivative is positive, that I can call the function increasing. And what about decreasing? Because the gradient is negative f dash this. Now let's have a look at a few of the past paper questions. You know, what is the question asking? The function f is defined by this, page number 1 in anybody booklet ka. Fx is 1 over 3x plus 2 plus x squared. For x is less than negative 1. Determine whether f is an increasing function, a decreasing function, or neither. So what will we have to do first? Find the derivative. और derivative कैसे निकलेगा? पहले तो इसको f को ही we must rewrite it as and power negative 1 plus x. F derivative of x is negative 1 dx plus 2 power negative 2 अंदर का derivative. F derivative of x is minus 3 upon dx plus 2 का square. That right? Now, what can I say about this derivative? What is the domain? The question that provides us with the domain, it's telling us that x is less than negative 1. Okay, x दो जगह input, or x is being input over here and over here. Is that right? if I input x over here, no matter what values of x I input over here, once this squares, it will become positive. So can you say for all values of x, this denominator will be positive? And what about the entire fraction? Negative. Is that right? क्यों? क्योंकि वो -3 से जब if you divide a positive value, the entire fraction will be negative. And what about this part? यहाँ पे अगर if I input the values of x less than -1, then what happens to plus 2x? वो भी negative हो गया. So ये वाला part भी negative है. This is negative for all values of x. This plus 2x is negative for the given domain. Is that right? So I know ये part भी negative है, ये भी negative है. The two negatives will add up, but the final answer will still be the two negatives will add up, but the final answer will still be negative -3 -2 अगर our example तो -5 होता है. Is that right? So can I say that for the given domain, f derivative of x is less than 0, so the function is, what can I say about the function? Decreasing function. Is this clear? Let's have a look at another question. This concept is the function f is defined by fx is 1/3 2x minus 1 power 3/2 minus 2x for x is between half and a. It is given that f is a decreasing function. Find the maximum possible value of the constant a. So if the question is telling me that it is the decreasing function, that what can I say for the function? Iska derivative is negative. Derivative is always negative, right? So first I need to find the derivative. How do we find the derivative for this one? 3/2 यहाँ multiply हो गया. 1/3 2x minus 1 power 3/2 minus 1 अंदर का derivative 2 से multiply. Then f derivative of x is 3 cancel and I'm left with 2x minus 1 to the power half minus 2. Is that right? Right? Now what do I know? That f derivative of x is less than 0. So I can say 2x minus 1 to the power half minus 2 is less than 0. पूरी चीज negative होगी. Is that right? Because the question is telling us that it is a decreasing function. Half is less than 2. Can I square both sides now? So 2x minus 1 is less than 4. 2x is less than 5. X is less than 5/2. So what, x has to be less than 5/2. The question already told us that it is greater than half. Why the question told us that it is greater than half? To under root लेना और under root के अंदर this value has to be positive. This value cannot be negative. 3/2 का क्या मतलब है? क्यूब करके अंडर रूट लेना, राइट? या अंडर रूट करके क्यूब लेना है. इफ आई वांट टू टेक द अंडर रूट के अंदर वैल्यू क्या होनी चाहिए? पॉजिटिव. उसने खुद बता दिया था कि x has to be greater than 1 half, sorry, x has to be greater than half, and we found out that x has to be less than 5/2. So the maximum value of a is 3/2. Differentiate ना. ये क्या होगा? मेरे पास क्या बचेगा? 3 कैंसिल, हाफ बचा एंड दिस 2 से मल्टीप्लाई हुआ. What can I say? The maximum value is clear है? Makes sense? Let's have a look at another such question. नई वाली बुकलेट का पेज नंबर 209, 209, this one. The function f is defined by this. Determine whether f is an increasing function, a decreasing function, or nice. And what is the domain that the question is provided? X is an element of real number. X is any real number. That means from negative infinity to positive infinity, it can take any particular value. So first we find the derivative. What will be the derivative? To the power, then plus. Now part one may let me just clear this part one as well because it is relatable to फिर मसला ना हो. Okay, let's have a look at इसका part A. This was part A, and here was a hint as to what we need to do. जरूरत नहीं पड़ेगी इसकी, लेकिन फिर भी express this in this completed square form. How do we do this? 5 common लिया, y square minus 6y plus 50 बाहर रखते हैं, क्या मसला है, अंदर भी रख सकते हैं, कोई प्रॉब्लम. Then y square minus plus 3 square plus 50 y minus 3 whole square 5 bracket y minus 3 whole square minus 45. Is that right? And now for this one, we found the derivative. Now how will we figure out that this derivative the positive hoga, negative hoga? How do we do this now? बिल्कुल वो तो है, बट अब पिछले वाले वर्ड से कंपेयर करो. Your this function and this function, what is the difference? Y की जगह क्या लिखा है? What do you have in place of y? X square. तो मैं इसको डायरेक्ट इसकी कंप्लीटेड स्क्वायर फॉर्म में अगर यूज करना है तो is this right or wrong? Now what can you tell me about the derivative, or x is an element of real number? What about यहाँ पे मैं plug in करूंगा ना, once it comes over here, square okay, all values of x will become positive, right? And what is the domain? X negative infinity to positive infinity. जैसे -3 करूंगा, the number can either be positive or negative, but once I square it, positive, right? So ये square होने के बाद ये value will become positive. Is that right? ये value positive हो गई और 5 से मल्टीप्लाई होकर पॉजिटिव ही रहेगी, एंड देन उसको 5 अगर ऐड कर दूंगा तो पॉजिटिव ही रहेगी. फाइनल द डेरिवेटिव इज ऑलवेज positive for the given domain or for all values. इसमें the very domain is all values of x. So I can say that x square, so जो square वाला part है, x square minus 3 का whole square, ये greater than equal to 0 है. Is that right? Small f derivative of x वो greater than or equal to 5 है. Derivative is always 5 or greater than 5. That means the gradient is 5 or greater than 5. That means the gradient is always positive. So the function is an increasing function. Clear है? Make sure you write it down. Clear है? Let's do just one more part. This is page number 303. from the new book. The function, this is defined by x is 2 minus 3 over 4x minus p, and the domain is x is greater than p over 4. Find f derivative of x and hence determine whether f is an increasing function or decreasing function or neither. How do we find the derivative of f? First, let's just rewrite 4x minus p to the power -1. Then, over derivative is 0. Minus 3 multiplied by -1, it becomes plus 3. 4x minus 2. Yes. Now, squares are never negative. So the denominator will always be positive. The denominator is positive and the numerator is 12. The final answer is bound to be positive. So the function is, can we surely say that no matter what domain we have, right? 0 हो सकता है, इसका गौर से चेक कर लो. उसने डोमेन क्या दिया, x is greater than p over 4. अगर x p over 4 रखूंगा तो वो तो वैसे undefined हो जाएगा. So what can I say that greater than 0 equal to, let's see, for the given domain, या वैसे तो इसमें तो all values of x के लिए होगा. So function is this clear? ये देख लेना कहीं मेरा फंक्शन का डेरिवेटिव 0 तो नहीं हो रहा है. अगर वो एक पॉइंट पे 0 भी हो रहा है तब भी आई कैन नॉट क्लेम the function to be increasing or decreasing. I should be extremely sure about the function being increasing or decreasing.